Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the weekly MMA Cycles Market Update. Today is Wednesday, the 19th of February, 2025. I'm Gianni DePocia, your host. We have markets pressing into new all-time highs. We have the S&P Cash Index hitting a new all-time high. The Dow is not far behind. We see various futures markets pressing onto their highs. But as I'll share in a moment, I don't think that's where the most action is right now. But let's start off by taking a look at U.S. stocks. The Dow is actually down slightly on the day, but as I'll show you in the moment, S&P 500 cash did just make a new all-time high. We do have the FOMC minutes, the Fed minutes that are set to be released today at 2 p.m. Eastern. And just as a rule, we like to see how the market reacts the day after anything related to the Fed more than the day itself. But as you'll see here, let's take a look at the S&P 500 cash. New all-time high here has not been registered yet in the futures, but cash is leading the way. The NASDAQ 100 cash index did hit a new all-time high yesterday as well, but we have not seen that yet play out in the futures. Now, this has been a rather quiet week from a geocosmic standpoint, and the next aspect that we're looking forward to actually occurs this Sunday on the 23rd when Mars goes stationary direct. And then not even a week later, we have Venus going retrograde on March 1st, which should be very important for markets. We've noted that Venus retrograde tends to be one of the most powerful signatures in geocosmics associated with cyclical highs or lows. So definitely keep an eye on stocks here as we're pressing up against new all-time highs. As a rule, they're bullish. You know, if we don't see a high form around Venus retrograde's initial planetary directional change, look around the midpoint or even when it goes stationary later on. But what I want to talk about now is what's happening in China. We're going to look at FXI. We did just come out with the Shanghai report yesterday that was published to our readers, but some really amazing things happening in China. You know, we had talked about how if you actually look at the performance last year between SPY, the ETF, and FXI, the ETF, Chinese large cap stocks actually outperformed US stocks in 2024, and we've been off to a really hot start. Many European markets have actually been outperforming US markets year to date, but I think China could really be a beneficiary here because it's the year of the snake. We don't have, the geocosmics worked out on that front per se, but the probability of a intermediate term cycle low being complete here in January is rather high. And so we could even have a long-term cycle bottom that was complete in January of 2024. So I would encourage our viewers to not be shy and take a look at what's going on over in the Chinese stock market, a very large and important market in the world. Let's take a look at gold and silver. You know, gold pressing up at its new all-time highs again. Silver, a little bit of a rally yesterday, quiet today. That could change by the time we have the FOMC announcement. When you look at bonds, we are coming back down onto support here. It's still spinning its wheels, trying to figure out what it wants to do. You know, it's interesting to see how some of the rhetoric on the geopolitical front has changed again, and that seems to be impacting the euro and bond markets. But the relationship we've seen lately is that whenever the dollar is going up, interest rates are going up, and whenever interest rates are going down, the dollar is going down as well. So right now we see the euro selling off. It seems like there are some formal disagreements happening in the Ukraine peace talks right now, something to keep an eye on, and just currencies in general with Venus going retrograde. You know, there's a couple primary cycle scenario in the euro here we've been discussing, but Venus rules currencies, so really important things happening on that front. We'll see if hopefully a resolution of the conflict can be worked out, and that may end up being bullish for the euro. But we also have to keep in mind that any agreements, any contracts or treaties that are signed around the time or in Venus retrograde, there may be some posturing that isn't totally honest. You know, Venus rules Libra, or Libra rules treaties, peace. Venus is a peace-seeking planet. I think the window is closing here. So ideally, we get it sometime next week when Mars and Venus are still direct. But then we also have to consider that Mercury is going to go retrograde in mid-March as well. So the window is closing, I think, on those peace talks, and that could reverberate throughout the rest of the market, especially looking at crude oil coming up off a higher low. This is interesting, no doubt. No big Jupiter or Neptune geocosmics in the immediate future, although now we are in Pisces season. So something to watch here. If we make a lower high on crude oil, I would expect it to continue chopping around. Let's take a look at Bitcoin and Ethereum. Still spinning our wheels, still in search of that cyclical bottom. Wouldn't be surprised and won't rule out a retest of the $88,000 to $90,000 area in Bitcoin. But if anything, that may be a low to buy. It may be the low to buy. This consolidation, as a rule, is bullish. And remember that both Venus and Mars have been shown to be pretty powerful, significant moves in Bitcoin and Ethereum. Speaking of which, Ethereum is up a little bit more than Bitcoin. Still due for that intermediate term cycle bottom that may have been completed there. So something to watch here. As long as that low holds, you might have some good buying opportunities here, even at current levels in Ethereum, just something to keep in the back of your mind. So that's all that I had to cover with you today. We're going to have a very special guest next week. It's the author of the new MMA tech report. Vibke Held is going to be joining me. We did send out the first publication of the tech report to all on our mailing list yesterday. So strongly encourage you to check that out. I read through it. I was very impressed. Vibke was a top student in MMTA 3 that Ray and I ran together most recently. And so we're really excited to have her doing this report that also looks at some individual stocks and just the broader tech sector and some of the themes that we see emerging in that space, together with cycles and geocosmics. A very exciting report. We are going to have the monthly addendum plus and the grains report published shortly as well. But in the near term, if you do want to meet some of us here at MMA, the place to do so is the Cosmic Convergence Conference in Orlando, Florida from March 7th to March 9th. I will be there, Puyan will be there, Vivka will be there, Ray will be there, and Ulrich will be there too. I know Wyatt was saying he might even come around. So a good chunk of the fellow MMA team will be there. Looking forward to meeting many of you. And aside from that, we'll see you next week along with Vivka. Take care, everyone. Thank you so much for watching.